call the meeting to order, and we'll start with roll call, please.
Michelle Brecken.
Here.
DJ Donnellier.
Here.
Stephanie Ederman.
Here.
Randy Heidman.
Here.
Sarah Spear.
Here.
John Ward. Not here yet.
All right. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. This meeting of the Brainerd School Board is being conducted in accordance with Minnesota Statutes 113D.02. This meeting is being recorded. Access to the recording is available on the school district's YouTube channel. We will look for an approval of the agenda.
So move.
Second.
We've got a motion by Director Brecken, a second by Director Heidman. Any discussion? We'll do a roll call vote.
DJ Donnellier.
Approved.
Stephanie Ederman.
Yes.
Randy Heidman.
Yes.
Sarah Spear.
Yes.
John Ward.
Yes.
Michelle Brecken.
Yes.
All in favor?
Thank you. We've got a number of recognitions here. Maybe we'll just take a couple each and go around the table if we could go this way. I'm glad to jump in and start. Congratulations to the 2025 Athletic Hall of Fame inductees, Jim Retker, Ann Stenglin, Mitch Firebrand, Allison Kazabud, Jason Howard, and Michelle Hilborn. And congratulations to girls alpine skier Piper Grillo. Piper placed 18th at the state meet and earned all state honors.
Congratulations to the girls Nordic skier Annalise Baird for her 7th place finish at the state meet and earning all state honors. And congratulations to boys Nordic skier Gabe Hallgren on his 14th place finish at the state and earning all state honors.
Congratulations to Warrior Gymnastics coach Jessica Larson for being named the Section 8 AA Head Coach of the Year and the State Class AA Head Coach of the Year. And congratulations to the boys swimming and diving team for being crowned the Central Lakes Conference champions.
Me to go.
Sure, go for it.
Congratulations to the Warrior Dance Team for winning the Class AAA State Championship in kick. They also finished 4th place in jazz, a program best. Congratulations to Warrior Dance Team coach Cindy Clow for being named the Section 4 AAA Head Coach of the Year. I can do the last one. Congratulations to Erica.
Congratulations to Erica Folden. Am I okay or not?
Go ahead.
Yep.
Congratulations to Erica Folden and Ben Statham for being named the AAA Athletics, Academic, and Arts winners for the Brainerd High School. Both were finalists in the Region 8 AA, with Ben placing 3rd and Erica winning the region.
Thank you. Lots of celebrations as we wrap up winter sports here. All right, next up, we've got public input. A member of the public can address the board during this time. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Complaints and allegations against students or employees may not be discussed due to data privacy. Complaints or allegations must be submitted in writing to Superintendent Grant. The Board of Education and Superintendent will not convene with guests to address the topics discussed at this time. All right, first up, we've got Rachel Cohn. Welcome.
Good evening. My name's Rachel Kahn. I'd just like to review a few of President Trump's executive orders with you. Several executive orders take direct aim at 2 pillars of the Cultural Revolution. With these, EOs they're called, executive orders, President Trump established 2 basic principles as fundamental to the Constitution and federal law. Number 1, diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, is illegal discrimination that violates federal civil rights law and the U.S. Constitution. The federal government will not fund any entity that illegally discriminates against DEI or through DEI, and laws against discrimination will be enforced. Number 2, the United States recognizes 2 sexes, male and female. These sexes are not changeable and are grounded in reality. As you know, forced gender ideology and DEI discrimination are thoroughly embedded into government schools. Higher education has trained teachers in DEI ideology for decades. Ethnic studies, teacher licensing standards, and social studies curriculum have all incorporated DEI ideology. Through SEL, social emotional learning, equity has replaced academic knowledge and skills as the core of education. With these EOs, President Trump clarified that diversity, equity, inclusion programs are illegal discrimination and are therefore in direct violation of the Federal Civil Rights Law of 1964, Title VI and Title IX, and that the civil rights law will be enforced. His EOs committed that the executive branch will defend women from radical gender ideology and operate on the reality that there are only two sexes, male and female. According to the Office for Civil Rights, every discriminatory DEI program and policy must be halted to continue to receive federal funding. How much federal funding does this district receive? This law was effective last Friday. Anyone can file a complaint with the Office for Civil Rights. For example, is your child bringing home white supremacy indoctrination? A person could file a complaint. Have you provided or recommended any anti-racism training as professional development for your teachers? Again, another complaint could be filed. Is this district viewing everything through an equity lens? Are there any books that contain gender ideology in the libraries? Are there any surveys going out to students that will violate these laws, like asking students to differentiate their sex as assigned at birth or from optional gender identity? Are there any discriminatory programs or groups in this district? Please be sure to obey the law soon so the complaints don't pile up. Again, thanks for all you guys do, your hard work to save our students and our next generation.
Thank you, Rachel. Next up, we've got Mark Olson.
Mark Olson, 12336 Thompson Road. The law is clear, treating students differently on the basis of race to achieve a nebulous goal such as diversity, racial balancing, social justice, or equity is illegal under controlling Supreme Court precedent. So you guys are about $3 million in debt on the balance sheet, $3 million short. I'm guessing you also receive money from the federal government, roughly around $6 million. I think you'll be in trouble. You are not abiding by Title VI or by Title IX of the Constitution. You had until February 28th to do that, to remove all DEI from the schools. It hasn't happened. Do you still have Equity Task Force? I just read the thing. Yes, you do. By the way, SEL, social emotional learning, is just part of DEI. It's just another form of critical race theory. With all of this, you have the strange idea you need to have an operating levy to pass to fund all these insane projects. What do you not understand about federal law? Trumps all state laws which have been passed by a liberal state legislation in the past few years. Federal law trumps state law. There's a great site you can all go and learn about it. It's called Child Protection League, cplaction.com, a wealth of knowledge on what has happened to our school system. My suggestion is to start teaching and promoting the 3 R's, as I told the board over 5 years ago, but they didn't seem to listen. They had deaf ears. Your enrollment is also going down. You all know it's around 5,800, maybe 58.5. In my 50 years here, I don't think it's ever been that low. It may have, but I don't think so. The last thing, are you thinking about another survey, which in my guess is as perverted as the first one that you sent out? I would say you need to take a hard look at that. So if these items and many more are not cleaned up properly, the U.S. Department of Education, the Office of Civil Rights, may be coming to District 181, and so may Doge. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mark. Next up, we've got Tom Coet. Did I get that right? Tom Coet?
Coet, yep, thank you. Yeah, my name's Tom Coet. I'm from Nisswa, Minnesota. And the topic of my comments tonight is on the executive order of keeping men out of women's sports. I'm not sure really tonight if my comments are necessary, but my fear is that I've heard on national news that states of Maine, California, and Minnesota are pushing back on President Trump's executive order, and I'm unaware of this school board's position on the topic. It's my heartfelt desire that we comply with this executive order to the letter of the law for a variety of reasons, but mostly because it just makes common sense. My two daughters were high school athletes competing in volleyball, basketball, and softball. Fortunately, they did not have to face the challenges of competing with biological males in their athletic experience. It's my hope that none of the girls competing in the Brainerd School District have to face that challenge either. We have a clear mandate from the federal government, national polls, and as I said before, common sense to do the right thing and allow our girls to athletically compete only with biological females. I started coming to school board meetings because I believe we can have a greater impact expressing our values at the local level. We voted you all into this position to implement the values of our community in the education of our children. Please consider my request and do what you know is right in this matter. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Tom. Last up, we've got Doug Kern, please.
So I just want to say thank you for working with Smiles for Jake. I really appreciate that. You guys do some good things there. I have 8 sisters and 5 brothers. I'm number 7 out of the 14. And I have 137 plus nieces and nephews with the Grace in there, you know. And, you know, I've been conducting this little I don't know what you want to call it. It's a test, whatever, see what people would say. So I have here, you probably can't see it real well, but it's a little squeaky Highlander toy. And I tell people, you can have the toy if you can answer the question. And they say, well, what's the question? And I say, well, this is a bowl. And I take out my magical pen, my little red pen, and I say, so if I put lipstick on this, is that a female? And everybody laughs about it. I say, well, if I pull the squeaker out, if I get rid of his junk, is that a female? So I pull the squeaker out, got the squeaker. Is that a female if I add a little more lipstick to it? No, it's still a male. When we look at my sisters fought really, really hard during the 70s, 60s and 70s for Title IX, for women's sports. And I'm just here to say we need to keep women's sports women, for women. When you put lipstick on something or you change something, it still technically is a male. So you're having males compete with women in sports. The Minnesota High School League, they I don't know if they're going to bend their knee or what they're going to do, but we need to keep women's sports for women. My sisters fought too hard to get their track, to get their baseball, softball, whatever sport they were into. They fought too hard to get that, to change that. And I'm glad to see the executive orders because common sense should rule, but it's not, obviously not. But again, you guys do so much good work. You know, I'm not criticizing you guys at all. I you know, like the Smiles for Jake thing that you guys partnered up with. Thank you for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. All right, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from our last regular school board.
So move.
I'll second.
All right, we've got a motion by Director Brecken and a second by Director Edelman. Any discussion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Stephanie Ederman,
Yes.
Randy Heidman,
Yes.
Sarah Spear,
Yes.
John Ward. John Ward,
He's muted.
okay, sorry,
Yes.
thank you. Michelle Brecken,
Yes.
DJ Dondelier,
I don't think I can vote because I wasn't here. Right?
did you read them?
Did I read them?
Read the minutes.
Yep. It's fine, I don't care.
Yeah, we can do that.
Meeting, so I don't know how I can approve the minutes. I watched it, guys.
Oh,
So what you're doing.
All right, thank you. Let's move on to the consent calendar. I'll look for a motion.
Motion.
I'll second.
We've got a motion by Director Dondelinger, a second by Director Brecken. Any discussion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Randy Heineman,
Yes.
Sarah Spear,
Yes.
John Ward,
Yes.
Michelle Brecken,
Yes.
BJ Dondelinger.
Yes.
Stephanie Ederman,
Yes.
Thank you, Kelly. Next up, we have a presentation on the Forest View schedule changes presented by Principal John Anderson. Welcome.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. Starting next school year, Forest View Middle School will be implementing changes to our master schedule. I'll start the slideshow. I will be presenting tonight information about the rationale for the changes in our master schedule, the work that has been done, and the framework for our master schedule that we will be implementing next school year. Over the past several months, our leadership team and staff have been discussing necessary changes to Forest View, the schedule for this year and beyond. We've identified some priorities that I'll be sharing tonight and needs based on enrollment projections and the need to meet state statutes on delivering appropriate curriculum and opportunities for students. This slide here will summarize the discussions we had. The next slide will talk about our time frame in which we've been discussing some changes. First and foremost, on the top of the screen on this slide, by the start of next school year, we must have a master schedule that supports our current and projected enrollment. So discussions going back to May have been taking a look at our projected enrollment and how that looks like in our master schedule. So there will be some reductions moving forward, and I'll share more about that as I present tonight. There are two sides to what we've been working on with our master schedule. In addition to taking a look at where our enrollment is and what that is in relation to our schedule and sections, we also had some areas that we had to have some alignment and some improvements in relation to our experience for middle school kids and our alignment with standards. Ryan, are we having any technical issues here? Okay. I can do some hand puppets if you need me to do that too. So the other areas of emphasis are listed there. Anybody who is involved in middle school, studies middle school, or is in education middle school knows that teaming is a foundational part of middle school. And teaming means that we have groups of teachers that share common kids, and the kids share a common teacher. So our challenge, taking a look at our enrollment, is to maintain an adequate level of teaming. So that was a part that we were discussing throughout this process. We also realized that we needed to make sure that we have Tier 2 time embedded into the schedule every day for every kid. So we talked about models and what we could do to enhance our Tier 2 time.
What's Tier 2?
Simply put, is extra math and reading time for every single kid, and I'll show you on our schedule for half an hour a day. We'll group kids according to their needs and have groups that they can all work on wherever they are. If you're at the 80th percentile, we're gonna have some resources and some instruction to meet you where you're at and move you forward. If you're at the 20th percentile, we're gonna have resources and instruction to meet you where you're at. Every student will be taking a look at where they're at and meeting those needs daily for 30 minutes. And I'll show you shortly in one of the next slides as far as what our schedule is gonna look like. We need to analyze our special education programming. I will not present a lot about that tonight as we're still working on that. But the phrase that we talked about is core and more. How do we get more of our students with IEPs in general ed settings, and what supports do they need. So we have some recommendations for that, and over the course of this next month, we'll be doing quite a bit of planning with that. Once we've figured out what we want to do for our changes with our master schedule, now how does our special education programming and support fit with that? We have not been truly, I don't say aligned with social studies, particularly in 5th grade. With our existing structure right now, like this year, our social studies standards are embedded into a 7th hour. 5th grade has that MTSS Tier 2 time already, but we had to fit our social studies standards in there, and we just didn't quite hit the mark. So we're providing social studies classes for all 5th grade kids. 6th, 7th, and 8th grade already have social studies, but part of our master schedule, we needed to include that. Art standards have changed since our last adoption of a master schedule, so we needed to include those changes. Quick summary of our art standards is every student in 5th through 8th grade by statute needs to be offered 3 different types of art: music, visual arts, and media arts, and be able to choose 2. So we had to align ourselves with those art standards. We needed to take a look at improving our physical education and our health education for all 5th through 8th grade students. We're kind of ahead of the game a little bit with health with the change of this master schedule. We are anticipating that all students are going to be required to take yearly standards in health. So we have now incorporated health classes for each grade 5 through 8 with this master schedule. And lastly, of the points of emphasis, from everything from those points and looking at our reductions to meet our projected enrollment, the last point is, in addition to all of this, are there opportunities to provide more exploratory opportunities, whether they're informal clubs and organizations that we can put in the day, or adding some exploratory classes, of which we can say with this master schedule, we have reduced staff, but we also have added some exploratory classes for every grade level, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Brief summary of a time frame of which we went through. Back in May of '24, we sat down and looked at our enrollment, met with staff, and talked about that we will have a process of the 24-25 school year to take a look at a new master schedule that addresses all those points that I made earlier about our enrollment and the other pieces that we need to become aligned with. That started way back in May of '24. September, we started to look at, well, I should say through the summer, we started to compile some information from other schools and put some preliminary pieces together. What other schools with similar enrollment, how do they do their master schedule business, and start to have a file built up so we can have some resources to look at. September, we hit the ground running with kicking the tires of different draft schedules and seeing how we can fit, again, with our sections and our projected enrollment, and still offer all those opportunities that I shared before. In December, we shared out a draft proposal or a draft to our staff and began getting some input with our staff. That continued through January and February. We had 2 different drafts put in front of our staff to solicit some input. That culminated into refining those pieces into the master schedule that I'll be presenting tonight. Forgive me for the rudimentary look to this slide, but this is what our shell of our master schedule will look like. I don't have the classes in this slide, but this is what it's going to look like. I'll start with the bottom to the top first. Let's talk teaming. With the reductions and still trying to do our best with making sure that we have teaming, we will be reducing teams. So 5th grade, we'll have 3 teams with the flex. I'll talk about what flex means in a moment. 6th grade, we'll have 2 teams with a flex between 5th and 6th. 7th and 8th grade, respectively, will have 2 teams with a flex. Now, a flex team, as you can probably surmise, that, for example, 7th and 8th grade, they'll each have 2 teams specifically just to their grade level. And then there will be a 3rd team that will be shared, and we will cross-team kids. So that flex team, probably going faster than I should. a team. Math teacher, science teacher, social teacher, language arts teacher in one area of the school. They share their common kids. Those kids share those common teachers. So the flex team, they'll have half of their schedule will be 7th grade, half of those students will be 8th grade, depending on the hour of the day. I do not have the full master schedule, but if you'd like a copy, I certainly can send it to you, so you can see how we make that happen. So the other box to the right of that, all teachers will be teaching 5 core sections. If they're a core teacher, obviously students will be taking 4, math, English, science, and social. But we'll be offering 5 throughout the schedule to make sure that we can get as many sections as possible, so to keep our numbers in each section as low as possible. Students, this is a change, particularly for 5th and 6th grade. Students in 5th and 6th grade will now have 2 periods of rotation classes offered. In our existing schedule, we only have 1 opportunity for 5th and 6th grade for 1 class of rotation. So we are expanding some things, and we're expanding some classes for rotation classes. As mentioned before, we're adding the MTSS Tier 2 time for all students. And then we're looking at some improvements. We currently have some time built in, about 25 minutes a day we call POWER, which is just structured study hall, check and connect for academic time. We'd like to expand that into providing some more exploratory opportunities and really being specific about what our structured study time is. So right now we call it Study and Grow. We'll probably change that title, but merely wanted to have that in there as that's a component to our schedule that we like to enhance and improve. As you can see on the top, we'll be providing a 7-period day. Our goalposts of when we start the school day and end the school day will be similar to what we've had over the last 6 years. Start at 8:20, end at 2:45. We'll have a first hour, 50 minutes to allow for announcements. Our core classes will be 45 minutes, and then we'll have the 30-minute MTSS Tier 2 time in between 6th and 7th hour. This is a little fancier version of it. The 5th grade label on the top got cut off. But this is kind of how it looks like for a general teacher's schedule. There is a prep time embedded in this. It's just not printed in there. But 5th grade, they'll have their lunch and study and grow time between the 10:55 to 11:25. And then it's opposite for 6th grade, and then 7th and 8th grade will have their period 5 lunch and study and grow time there. I'm going to give you a couple sample student schedules so you can kind of wrap your head on what a student's experience would be. I did not do every single grade level, but I'm just going to highlight a couple. So 5th grade, here's a sample student schedule. First, second, third hour is their core classes, math, language arts, and social studies. 4th hour, then half of 4th hour will be lunch, and then the second half of 4th hour will be study and grow time. And please know 5th grade will have recess during that study and grow time. 5th hour then, that's their first rotation period for this particular student. And that one is the day 2, day 1, day 2 option. Or so FIED, physical education, will be all year, day 1. And then the student will have art for a period of the year, media arts, and music on a rotation every other day opposite FIED. 6th hour then, student will be going to the rotation, and that's an everyday class for a quarter. And these are some added classes for 5th grade. Health, science, technology, engineering, and math. Meteor, which is like a life skills class, study skills, organization, how to make change, those types of things. It's a curriculum that has been supported by Sourcewell. And then multimedia. And again, that's every day for a quarter. Tier 2 time then between 6th and 7th, and then the student ends their day with science. 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade are very similar to each other now that when you get into 6th grade, students have to make a choice with music. Are they going to be in music? And what are their choices? Or are they not going to be in music? So we do kind of have 2 paths. 5th grade, everybody kind of gets everything. 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, there's a fork in the road now because you're choosing whether to be in music or not. This student is not in band, choir, orchestra, so first hour be physical education, and then we'll be providing career exploration classes. We have a lot of work to do with that particular class as far as generating some curriculum and putting our scope and sequence together, but that is new for all students not participating in band, choir, or orchestra. Then you see the core classes there in the middle of the student's day. 6th hour, then the rotation. We've added rotation classes now for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Media arts, art, STEM, and health for a quarter every day. Tier 2 time then between 6th and 7th, and then social studies at the end of the day. Now this is a sample schedule of a 6th grade kid in band, choir, or orchestra. Very similar to what the other student has, but the exception is opposite day of Phi Ed, that's when they have their music. Next steps, a lot of work to do that lies ahead of us. We had a lot of work to do with refining our master schedule. We do have a draft together right now that if we had to go live with this, we could run our master schedule. We wanted to make sure that we had enough sections and we were delivering a schedule that what we said are the components we're actually going to be able to provide. So that part of the steps are done, but we have a lot of refining left to do. So first and foremost, we will be reducing 8 staff from this for this master schedule. So we'll have some new staffing and assignments that will be done. And a lot of people will be affected by that in our building, from reassignments to reductions. So that's one of our biggest next step is staffing and assignments. Along with that, with some of the new courses that are being offered, we have a lot of curriculum work that has left to be done. We have a lot of planning with our Tier 2 time. How do we group kids? What resources are we going to have? How do we know when that intervention is working? What do we do when it's not? We got to map out all of those decisions so we're not have any big surprises when we hit the ground running on the first day of school. A lot of work that needs to be done with that. We need to have some group to meet to organize our study and grow time and the improvements there. With our master schedule changes, we'll also have some physical changes in our school. Along with reassignment for staff, we'll be moving some classrooms around too. So we just have to have some work to be done just about our physical layout of our building. Again, as I mentioned before, we'll have our special education structure that we're working on throughout the course. A lot of work will be done over the course of this next month and month and a half. And then there's a lot of little pieces that have been brought up with our staff that we need to refine those pieces too. So those are all the bullet points of what is happening with our next step that lies ahead. With that, I'll take any questions.
Principal Anderson, how many empty classrooms do you think you'll have in 25, 26? I mean, that's probably an unfair question, but I just wanted to throw it out.
I couldn't give you a straight answer right now. I can get back to you on that. We do have a couple drafts put together what teams would look like and what folks would be where. Part of that is taking a look at our special education staffing and where we're going to have those people be. We might have some special education folks in a team. We might not. We have a lot of discussions, a lot of pros and cons that we've already talked about with our staff about that. So I can't give you a straight answer at this point.
No, when you say teams, again, that's your pods, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
Other questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Director Ward.
thank you. Mr. Anderson, thank you for the work that you're doing here. I can, as a former educator, I can see, hear, and feel the amount of effort and work put into this. And I thank you very much. It's important work. It's extensive work. And unfortunately, due to finance and declining enrollment, it's really problematic. It's really a huge task to undertake. And I really appreciate the fact that you really laid out the steps and the dialogue and the work that was done. Can you share with us, how much the boots on the ground staff was involved in the process and the decision making?
Absolutely. Starting in December, I should back up for September, October, November, our admin team met and we looked at different models. We weighed some things out, and then we brought a draft to the table for input on one of our in-service days in December. collected some feedback, summarized that. Then in January, we had 2 different rounds because we proposed a draft the first week back after Christmas break. And we met with every team throughout the day and had some small groups and received some input from draft 1. Summarized all that information, then proposed a draft 2 based on the information that we received from staff, and had another round of small group conversations with our staff then at the end of January. Took that information, made some of the changes to the master schedule I'm presenting tonight. Side note to that, I just want to say officially that our staff at Forest View, as you know, are unbelievable people. But it's kind of best at times, worst at times, or kind of both sides of the coin, or I don't know what cliche I could use. They were very professional, but they also knew that we were facing some reductions. So part of that was talking about the impact of reductions. But the other piece is very professional about what can we do with improving our master's schedule and providing the best opportunities that we can for our middle school kids.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that answer. And it sounds like the staff was significantly involved, and I'm hoping that that is the case. Although I and other board members, and anytime there's changing, I think in people's lives in general, but I'm going to talk about just educators. A lot of times it's difficult. You do what you think you're doing best for the children, and then all of a sudden, there's a change, and all of a sudden it seems like you're back to square one sometimes. So I'm greatly appreciative of, as a board member, the staff being involved in final decisions, because they are the ones that are dealing directly with our students and our children and having the impact on our children. I also want to applaud you and everybody that worked on this, because I and other board members and community members and administrators and the administrative team heard a lot about the music concerns. And a student at one point, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Anderson, but at one point a student was only going to be able to take one music selection, and you've now changed that, haven't you? As far as I could tell, I heard you say that on each and other day of Phi-Ed, they will be able to take either orchestra, choir, or band. Is that correct?
That's correct. And in none of our proposals of our drafts was it. I think I was miscommunicated somehow or misinterpreted. There was never on any of the drafts that we had proposed that a student could only take one music. On some of the proposals that we had is that they could take 2 musics, but not as often as we currently offer. But the option for students not to take 2 musics was never an option on these proposals. By communicating.
But you did hear that. Am I the only one in Minnesota and Brainerd Brainerd, Minnesota that heard that complaint?
I did too. Yep.
Good question in here someplace.
Okay. And then Mr. Anderson, finally, Matt, I heard you say that you're going to refine, you're going to review, you're going to refine and go forward, making the best schedule decisions that we can for our students at Forest View Middle School. And I know as a board member, we also have discussed this and looked at some other options and alternatives and things as such like that. As if and when the board comes forward with anything that might, or the administrative team or whomever comes forward with anything that might be an advantageous change for our students, is there flexibility within this schedule and the process to allow that?
I'm always open for suggestions, recommendations, and thoughts. But if it's next year or the year after, we want to go to a 4-period day and have skinnies and all sorts of unique things, I'll listen to it. But our shell of our master schedule needs to move forward for a couple of years. If it's some other things about suggestions of what we do within the structure, absolutely we can make some adjustments.
Okay, fair enough. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Anderson, and your staff.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions for Mr.
I have a few. Is that all right?
Yeah.
John, on number 3, you say more exploratory opportunities. What does that mean?
Those are those rotation classes. Those 2 hours that I showed in the,
So that's,
that's your health,
more of
multimedia,
those.
STEM classes. We've almost doubled the amount of opportunities in 5th grade.
so we have health classes for 5th graders, 6th graders, 7th graders, and 8th graders.
Correct.
Are they gonna take health 4 years in a row?
They are. We're anticipating that's
Why
where,
is that?
we're anticipating that's where the state is gonna going for requirements for our middle school kids. So we're gonna get that embedded now.
So how many years did we, take health class?
I couldn't tell you.
Well, how many did you take?
I was a product of Thief River Falls.
Yeah, well, my uncle lived in Thief.
Yeah, I know the Donnellingers well. I graduated with K. So, we had a great
How many
education.
years did they take? Should I text her and see how many she took, or what are you thinking?
We had in middle school a unit in every grade. And then, yeah, we did.
I remember that. I remember taking it in 10th grade and learning like, I can't think of CPR and all those kinds of things. And I remember the younger classes, like in 6th or 7th grade. I thought we took it like every 2 or 3 years, but maybe not. Well, that was one of my questions. Another question I have is the career exploration classes. So we're gonna put 5th graders, 11-year-olds in career exploration classes?
Not 5th grade, no.
6th grade?
These are for the kids who are electing not to take a music.
So is this like 6th grade?
6th, 7th, and 8th.
So have you guys thought, you've got all this space over there now, have we thought about putting shop class back in there? And like, whatever they call home ec nowadays, I'm sure that's politically incorrect, but these sorts of classes where you can learn some life skills that were back in our middle school? I mean, have you thought about this with your master plan? Because I've read a lot where a lot of these young boys don't like geometry, don't like algebra, don't like any of it, and they don't know why they're doing it, and they think they're never gonna use it again. And then you put them in a shop class and they have to make a funnel or, whatever they want.
We're already doing it.
Are we?
Yep.
Where does that come into this?
And
I don't see it
it's
in
in
there.
those rotation, when I said STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. Our previous schedule, like
We have
this
like
year.
wood class and metal.
Yep.
Huh.
And we do have home ec.
Check it out.
I'm married to a home ec teacher, we call it FACS, Family Consumer Science.
Facts.
Yep, and we have that in 8th grade. I went through it relatively quickly, but we do have we offer FACS class in 8th grade.
Well, good. That makes me happy. I think that's where we need to get back to a little bit, is to give them interest in something. Terrific.
All right.
Yeah, they make rockets, it's kind of cool,
I like rockets.
then they shoot
Yeah,
them out.
7th grade, and it's not out of a kit, they make it out of
Yeah.
material.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat.
I've watched it, yeah, it's cool.
Well, that's great. I've asked about this before, and we had to wait till you get to high school to do any of these things.
We're expanding it into 6th grade.
That's a good plan. Perfect.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr.
Thank you for your
Nelson.
time.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great work. All right, we'll move on to informational updates. Or let's see here, I skipped committee meetings. Committee meeting updates. We'll start with Chair Brecken.
Okay, last Wednesday, we had our Student Support Services Committee meeting, and the exciting thing about that meeting is that we had our first 2 student representatives, Leah Sukup and Cameron Kramer, join us at that meeting. Last Tuesday, I did a brief orientation with 14 students at the high school, and there's only 10 spots for students to be on committees, so ironically, there were 11 juniors that signed up. So at this point, I met with the Student Support Services folks and the curriculum folks, and then tomorrow I'll be talking with the other 6 and then assigning them to the other committees. So Leah and Cameron were able to join us on Wednesday. Lots of celebrations that Jack Freeman talked about, who is our activities director. Our strength conditioning coach has been a real asset to our district. The program is going well, and that space is being utilized regularly. In fact, during the winter, there were 495 students using the strength conditioning space. Another kind of exciting thing is we now have one online ticket provider for Central Lakes Conference, and that is GoFan. So that's a new platform being used to purchase tickets for athletic and music events. All Central Lakes Conference will be using the same online ticket provider, along with having the same prices. So the MSHSL, Minnesota State High School League, has also adopted this platform. Back in October, member districts voted to have MSHSL adopt 9th grade athletics under their umbrella. So changes will be implemented in 2025 for 9th grade teams who will have to follow the game regulations and bylaws of MSHSL going forward. And one of the biggest reasons for this was to have a more organized program to prevent injuries. Okay, when we talk about our booster partnership project update, all 6 of the top level founding partner boxes are sold for the new stadium electronic scoreboard. So that's really exciting, and aquatic center and gym. And 2 of the 6 community partner boxes have been sold. There's a fine arts and activities celebration on April 14th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at Gitche Zeebe, and the all sports banquet is April 28th, 6:30 at Gitche Zeebe. So put those dates in your calendar. Another kind of exciting thing, there's some data that indicated there were 418 males and 415 females who participated in athletic activities. The exciting thing about that is those 2 numbers are pretty even. While 190 males and 263 females participated in fine arts. We also received an MSHSL Foundation Form B grant. We received about a little over $3,400. This is a reimbursement from MSHSL for students that qualify for free and reduced lunch. And the funds are used to offset the cost for students to participate in activities. And no student is ever turned away to participate in any VHS activities. So that's that.
Thank you for that. All right, now we'll move on to informational. First up, we've got.
There's another curriculum.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
That's okay.
I'm just going to skip that one too.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. Curriculum instruction and staff development. Thank you.
I was also the school board member attending that meeting. We were able to have Haley Petrie and Grace Engie join us. They were our student representatives. We are conducting the Minnesota Student Survey in early May 2025. Let's talk about these are some of the highlights. The Brainerd online school data, there were 561 unduplicated students enrolled in online classes in fall semester and 583 in spring semester. And there'll be a few more electives available next year. Kindergarten registration will be held on March 26th, 2025, from 5 to 6:30. They're calling it kindergarten registration rather than kindergarten roundup. And one of the main reasons for that is sometimes that message meant that it was more, what's the word I'm looking for? A choice that they didn't necessarily have to go, but we're really trying to promote kindergartners registering on March 26th, so we have a good count for next year. So each school will have the same registration. And we talked about the Forest View schedule, but we heard about that tonight. So those are the highlights.
Thank you. And thank you for getting the student representatives kicked off. It's great news.
Yeah.
All right, now we'll move on to Director Ederman with the Brainerd Public Schools Foundation. Any updates?
I went to that meeting today. The big event they did really well on that. I think it was over $90,000 that they had earned on that. Yep, $90,000. And they are just, so right now, they're looking for scholarship applicants. They have 98, and they'd like more seniors to apply for it, because 98 is a really low number. They're hoping to get like 200 to 300, and it's due by March 17th, I believe, that they have to have the applications in. So they're gonna send out another email for that. And then they were just kind of discussing about the big event that they just had this last month, wondering if they should keep it next year in February, if they should move it to November. And they were gonna get a hold of Grandview to see if that weekend was open, that they kind of had discussed in November, but nothing's been set in stone on that.
Great,
So that was,
thank you. All right, and then we've got the Equity Task Force and the Wellness Task Force update, both by Director Brecken.
So I was not at the Equity Task Force meeting, but Director Ederman was there, so.
yes, I was there at that meeting, and what we had talked about was the bullying. So they started it in September. It's the student safety. So we gotta stop, ask, tell, and they wanna put posters, and I don't know if they've started putting posters around the whole schools in every classroom, and the teachers have to follow it. And you just have to start at the teacher, the kids have to follow it, and then we wanna get parents involved too. But if we start in kindergarten and go all the way up through high school, and just everybody does the exact same, then students should learn that if somebody's bullying them, they can tell them to stop. And we're just trying to brainstorm on other ways to how to get more people involved in everything. Because I think we need to get the community involved. You can't just expect the staff to do everything. The community needs to be involved. And so we just kind of talked about that and everything. So it's pretty just all about the bullying that's going on in the district.
Okay, the Wellness Task Force.
I have a question. Stephanie, did you guys talk about the new EOs,
You know what?
executive orders?
No.
From the federal government? Well, we have $6.8 million that we're getting from the federal government. And I guarantee you, that deal right there is a violation. So the equity committee, Kevin Boyles told me, was started after the George Floyd riots in Minneapolis. And from what I've seen in my 2 years on the board, what we've done so far is we got those, did you guys do posters, Michelle? Those stickers, there's those stickers.
Lipsticks and posters.
And that's stuff about the bullying. My question is, do we need to have the equity committee to do that, or is that something that the school could just pick up, Peter, and handle? I don't know, but these things are gonna have to be flushed out of our system shortly. There's already 15 lawsuits going to Minnesota on items just like this. And I don't feel comfortable, leaving ourselves exposed for $700 over things like this. So we're gonna have to, I was just curious if the committee, if that's even on anybody's radar. D-Day was Friday night. What we heard from some of these folks, I've got a lot of them printed out. They're not screwing around. If you look at the form, has anybody looked at the form to fill out to file a case? It's not like they're going against the state of Minnesota. They're coming after us. And I don't think we wanna waste our money fighting all these things. We could have 50 of them in a week. If you go through our strategic plan, I'll bet you there's 250 violations in there. It's unbelievable. We are really in a pickle. So we talked about maybe having a retreat or something and maybe getting a plan. But I think the equity task force should be front and center for them, because they're kind of putting us in a bad spot. Our liability, we're wide open. And I don't think we want to be, and I don't think we mean to be, but the rules have changed. So we have to figure out how to handle this. So that's all I got.
Thank you. All right, let's see. Anything else you wanted to add on the wellness?
Well,
meeting?
the next meeting for the Wellness Task Force will be March 17th. Sarah Smith from Smiles for Jake and myself met with Christina Lundgren last week just to talk about the potential of bringing Project 11 into the district. Not sure where we're going to go with that at this point, but Smiles for Jake is offering a training for their curriculum, and the Smiles for Jake Board of Directors is going to be offered the opportunity to participate in that curriculum. I think Christina Lundgren and Sandy Taugis will be participating, and then the Wellness Task Force members will all get trained, so we have access to the curriculum so we can make some good decisions about what we want to do going forward, if we are to implement that program and what that will look like.
And that goes through the curriculum process.
That
and the city
goes through the
teachers.
curriculum process, correct.
Great.
Does the curriculum committee get to look at it? That's what happens.
Well, yeah.
All right. Thank you. Next up, we've got the business services report.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Director Ward.
before you move on to the next committee item, I was muted and I was trying to get unmuted before Director Brecken went into the Wellness Task Force. But just in response to Director Donlinger's comments about the Equity Task Force, I understand them. I understand the comments. I understand the concerns. I also want people to be aware of understanding the other side of the coin. When you are discriminated against, or you are, for whatever reason, in 1968, I was turned down for 4 jobs because I got a handicap arm. And I will never forget that. And it has stayed with me. And that was before the Federal Equal Opportunity Employment Act came about. But as we make changes, we really need to address the total scope of things and not just a tunnel vision of things. And I wanted to make sure that the other side of the coin was also heard. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, Marcy.
In your board packet is the financial report. Nothing really new to note on there. And I did want to give an update. The budget revision is still being worked on. There are bills being introduced, so I don't have any updates as far as legislatively. But I was one of the hot topics is compensatory. That has been a hot topic now as far as the calculation is now based on direct certifications, not the free and reduced applications and direct certifications. And we will be incorporating that into our budget for next year. So, any questions on the financial report?
The only thing I'll bring up, Marcy, is that the email that I got from MREA today, it sounds like it's going to be 2.74% increase in the general fund, which is up about $200 I read in that email.
That's the what if formula, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
What did I say?
No, it's
Okay.
the same thing.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's, let me just verify that.
With the inflation factor now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
You read the same one?
They're all sorts
All
of,
over.
yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I should have noted that, so thank you. And then I also have the enrollment report in your packet, and we are down 77 from the beginning of the school year. The average since 18-19 is about 83, so we're not very far off. Any questions?
Thank you, Marcy.
Thank you.
All right, and then finally, we've got the superintendent's report.
I have 2 things I want to bring up. A week ago, Brainerd Police Department, Baxter, Crosby, Nisswa, and Crow Wing County Law Enforcement invited us to what they call a reunification meeting. And it's really about re-examining what happens, should there be catastrophic event in the community or in our schools. And the point is to review the plans that we've had for quite some time. The last time that there was a practice drill, if you want to call that, was I think 6 or 7 years ago. And they're making plans to have a new drill. Probably would occur in the summer. They would ask students and staff for volunteers to participate. But the concern is that there's been significant changes in buildings throughout the county, significant changes in personnel throughout the county, and it's time to bring people back together. And what their goal is that Brainerd, Crosby, Pillager, we would all have very similar plans so that if something happened at Crosby, for example, we could send people over there and they know exactly what the rules are supposed to be and what the procedures are going to be to follow, and vice versa. I think it was a really, really good meeting. They're taking this very seriously. They're concerned about the fact that with so many changes in personnel, for the most part, not very many people really remember what the original plans were, what were supposed to be the change in plans, and what are some of the demands being made now that are going to happen in the future. So we're going to meet in June, and we're going to start narrowing down what type of behaviors we need to start re-examining, what kind of things do we need to do to have a better relationship amongst school districts in the county, and how to relate better with law enforcement, so we have better, clear communications. But it was a pretty serious meeting. There wasn't very many smiles that are on the table, but it's a serious topic, and we need to get back on the page with our local law enforcement. Then the other thing I want to share is that last Friday, the chamber held what's called Eggs and Issues. It was really excellent. Matt Dillon was the host, so to speak. 250 plus people attended the breakfast. And there were 4 local legislators, Justin Eichen, Josh Heinzman, Kristen Knudsen, and Ben Davis. They were given a certain amount of time they could speak, so they couldn't ramble on, so that we could get through more of the topics. Most of the discussion really was about the business climate of Brainerd. And there was kind of a little survey to kind of see what do they think the climate is going to be for the year. And for the most part, they think it's going to be flat, which means there isn't going to be a reduction, but there might not be much growth. And the legislators addressed some of the things they're trying to correct or roll back that occurred last legislative session. One of them particular is that in January of 2026, the Extended Family Leave Act will go into effect, which would mean that a person can miss up from 12 to 20 weeks of employment and be paid. And the concern is who's going to fill that position. When I think about our schools, we have a difficult time getting substitute teachers. And if we have things going on where you could be gone for 20 weeks, I don't know what's going to happen to the process of learning. So they're trying to figure out how they can prevent that from going into effect in January. I said, why don't you just repeal it? But, you know, they don't have a lot of votes on their side, so to speak. And the other one is, if you recall last year with the 18 billion, they decided that people who work part-time can file for unemployment insurance. And an example is that's a $400,000 bill for this district. The question is there going to be money next year for it? And they're trying to decide, are they going to fund it one more year, or are we going to be stuck on our own? And if we're stuck on our own, I don't know where we're going to find 400,000. But it's that's a chunk of change. And they're going to try to see if they can either repeal it or make sure the funding's there for one more year, give them time to figure out, are we going to continue this, or are we going to get out of the game? Because people at school districts specifically, but other businesses, when you have to start paying out that kind of money for people who are no longer working over a summer or what it might be, I don't think that was the intent, but that's what we're stuck with. And so they're going to try to address that for employees and employers, I mean, so. But it was a very, very well-run meeting, and we were all shocked at the number of people who showed up, which is a good sign. People want to get involved, so,
Have you seen what's going on with that family leave thing you're talking about?
yeah.
So the Walls administration estimated that it was gonna cost 0.7%, and that would be split with us and the employee. All right,
No.
well, they've already are off over 25%, so now it's up to 0.88. The estimates are it'll be 1.25.
Yeah.
Is where it'll probably come in. It's 20 weeks. There's a lot of pressure coming down from the chambers and the state chamber,
Right.
for schools, small businesses. You know, think of it, if you had a small business with 4 employees, what do you do if one of them's gone for half the year? You can't replace them because they can come back.
Right.
And
It's a problem.
it wasn't very well thought out, and hopefully cooler heads will prevail and they'll come up with something a little better. It's a pretty scary deal, for sure for me, and not just for the school. Like in my world, it's a very, very big deal.
I think it puts small businesses in a very, very difficult situation.
Yeah, anything with skilled positions, like you talk about these educators, how do we just replace them for 20 weeks? People that work on your car, painters, I mean, just sheet rockers, architects, I mean, just the doctors, you know, nurses. What if the nurses wanna take the summers off? All of a sudden St. Joe's, like, half their staff has decided they're taking the summer. Cause you can take it for your neighbor being sick. It's not like it has to be a direct family member. It wasn't very well thought out. It was kinda during the feeding frenzy they had going on down there, where they were laying all this stuff out for these schools.
Well, and for us, we gotta pay the substitute teachers too then, on top of it, I mean, so.
Anything additional?
Oh, that'd be it.
All right. I would just note, we've got some future meetings listed there. One that is not on there that I think we are going to add is March 10th, correct? At noon, we'll be meeting to look at the budget.
For a budget
Yes,
revision.
budget revision. Otherwise, you can take note of the other ones that are on there as well.
I just need to confirm, so the Long-Range Planning Committee meeting has been postponed. Is that right? Okay, and has it been rescheduled?
Yes, when John gets back.
Okay, just because I'll be meeting with those students tomorrow, so. So, do you have a date?
Okay.
What is the appetite for a retreat?
I think there is an appetite for a retreat, so maybe when we adjourn here, we kind of think about a time for that. We can get it on the schedule. Sound good? Okay.
Good
All
idea.
right. In the meantime, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair, Madam
Yes.
Chair, just a couple things before we adjourn here, before we move, you look for a motion to adjourn. As I looked at the schedule of people talking about different events coming up, on April 14th, Director Brecken talked about, I think it was Director Brecken, talked about the Fine Arts Banquet at the Gitche at 6 p.m. There's also a school board meeting that night. Are folks aware of that?
Yeah, remember we had to work it out, and that's the best we could do.
Okay, all right, I
And
just
that
want to
came
make
up
sure of
last,
that.
last fall when we made this schedule.
We did have that issue.
All right. I didn't remember if that was discussed yet or not, so thank you for that, DJ. Then also just, I wanted to give a big shout out to Director Brecken for the beyond the duty work that she did in the student committee reps. I believe that they're really going to add significant to our district, and she went beyond the call of duty to get this rolling and going. And so I should have stated that earlier, but I didn't. I'm not quick enough on my button again, Madam Chair, I'm sorry. And then finally, I know I speak for Superintendent Grant and both myself, who have had some health issues recently. And we have both felt the prayers and the thoughts coming from other folks. And we're thankful for that. So I just wanted to add those three things, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you, Director Ward. All right, now we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion by Director Heidman, a second by Director Ederman. Any discussion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Sarah Spear,
Yes.
John Ward,
Yes.
Michelle Brecken,
Yes.
TJ Gondolaire,
Yes.
Stephanie Ederman,
Yes.
Randy Heidman.
Yes.
Favor,